Hello, Barendipitous here, and this is going to be a introduction to a new series that I'm starting called Legend Lore Chats. In this video, I'm going to explain three things: what it is, where it came from, and where it's going. So, what is Legend Lore Chats? Basically, it's going to be a pretty casual a series of videos in which I one video per legend, starting with Bodvar and going in release order up until at the recording of this video, VV is the most recent legend. So from Bodvar to VV and beyond. Basically, I'm gonna do my best to catch up with legend releases. Basically, in each video, I'm going to be reading off the legend's lore, like straight from the game, and you'll see the lore in the game as well while I read it off. Just read that off, straight up verbatim, and then I'm going to go into the ranked queue and play some ranked 1v1s with that legend while I chat about the lore of that legend. Any additional connections or context and things like that I happen to know from my research and familiarity with Brawlhalla and its lore. And that's basically it. Each video, like I said, will focus on each legend, read the lore, play the legend, chat about the lore. That's it. I don't necessarily expect people to always watch the videos, but as opposed to you can just listen to them. Honestly, that's the most important part. Just like the chat part of it, because goodness knows, I doubt very many people would be interested in my mid to low gold gameplay. But I'm gonna do it anyway. Basically, playing with the legend essentially. But yeah, that's basically what it is. A chat about each legend's lore. So where did this series come from? Well, you may or may not be aware that back in 2019, one of my first years of content creation ever, I was actually making the Legend Lore Chat series, and I was doing very well. I think I got up to about Rayman, actually, so like 40 plus. And at the time, there were like about barely like 50 legends or something, so I got pretty close. But I think at the time I got kind of burned out. That's why I stopped. I've gotten some comments on those videos since then about why did you stop and so on and so forth, things like that. If you really want to watch those old 2019 videos, Baron, being very new at content creation, having very much cheaper equipment. I have those on this YouTube channel, but here, since first of all, I'm a lot more comfortable and familiar with content creation now. At least, I've gotten more into my groove now in 2024 and beyond, 5 years later, and I know a bit more about what I'm doing. Like pretty much any of my videos, these Legend Lore Chats will not really be edited. That's not really what I do. I just kind of, they're going to be pretty informal, but I hope that they'll be fun to listen to and informative. Also, back then, I was way more gung-ho about, I was way more serious about about researching and going deep into every little into the minutia of the lore, every little tiny thing, every single person, place, or thing in the lore. That was also a problem with the old Brawlhalla lore wiki site that I made on Blogspot or Blogger. I was making a page for every little thing. If you remember, Sir Roland has a very long name, Slayer of the Bilious Dragon, Duke of the Three Isles, champion of the city of Bath, and blah blah blah. And I made a page for every single thing. I made a page for the city of Bath, I made a page for the Bilious Dragon, I made a page for the for the Three Isles, and so on and so forth. And it was so unnecessary, and it wasn't that helpful either, because my style of research was very much just like Wikipedia levels of research, essentially, or like basic Googling and stuff, because I couldn't go very deep because I was going so very broad over everything. And while that's not inherently a problem, especially if you want to learn things, there were times when I got things pretty wrong. There was one time, a good example is one time I thought that Wu Shang's name in Chinese or something like that meant nothing, as in the word nothing, which I thought oh, okay, so enlightenment and peace and meditation and stuff, that fits. But then someone who was much more familiar with those cultures asked me why I thought that, and basically told me I was wrong, and I felt pretty awful about that. Because I basically use Google Translate, which I know that can help in many cases, but it's yeah, that was not the best way to research some of these things about Brawlhalla lore. I know that the Brawlhalla devs, they do a lot of research with each legend as they develop the legend, and the visual and the moves, and also writing up the lore and things like that to have references to historical and mythological things and whatever, which is really cool. And I wanted to get deep into that, but I think now doing this series is also kind of, I'm also at the same time doing a full revamp of the of my lore wiki site. I'm going to make it much more user friendly. I'm going to make it much easier for me to keep up with and update, because the old one it was so much harder for me. It's a lot of trouble for me to update, and I got burnt out of that, just like I got burnt out of the old Legend Lore Chats series. So yeah. Where this series is going, I'm going to do my best to, again, cover from Bodvar to Vivi and beyond, and I think this will be a lot more sustainable because I don't have a fixed schedule for this. I'm definitely planning on the first few videos to coincide with the 10th birthdays of the first 4 legends of the game, Bodvar, Cassidy, Orion, and Lord Vrax. I'm not necessarily going to have every single Legend Lore Chat video coincide with the 10th anniversary of that legend's release, because that would just take forever, right? 10 years just to get to Vivi, right? So I don't want to do that necessarily, but I'll figure it out. But I will go in order, starting with Bodvar and going onwards. And I also feel like the 10th anniversary of Bodvar, Cassidy, Orion, and Lord Vrax's release was as good a time as any to start these Legend Lore Chats anyway. So yeah, that's basically it. I will also say that while I do have a fixed format in mind, read the lore and then play a few ranked matches with that legend while I chat about the lore, things may change as well. I may come up with maybe a couple minor things to improve things. I might have my wife come in and for some of these videos and chat with her about some of the lore, because she did express interest to me in chatting about the lore of each of these legends a little bit. Because even though she doesn't really play fighting games, and she's not nearly as interested in Brawlhalla as I am, she does play occasionally, and she helps me with Battle Pass missions. And it might be fun to have my wife Cobweb come in and chat and whatever. And maybe I might mix things up a little bit. But again, the plan is read the lore and play some ranked matches with that legend while I chat about the lore. That's the basic idea. That's going to be the basic formula that these videos are going to be based on. All right. I hope these are, and for a while I've heard from people that they want to watch video or listen to videos about the lore because they don't want to do a lot of reading, which fair, I get it. So I'm reading the lore, so you don't have to, kind of a thing. But do read the lore if you. I think it's awesome. But yeah, that's essentially it. That's my introduction to this series. I don't know exactly how long each video will be. I'm aiming for 15 to 20 minutes. Definitely not longer than 20 minutes. But maybe more in the 10 to 15 minute range, perhaps. We'll see. Again, I have a basic formula in mind, and I will stick to it and maybe change things up a little bit, but stick to the basic formula and maybe add a few things here and there. Yeah, we'll see how far I get to. I'm hoping to stick with it, to be strong this time and stick with this, to stay up to date on all the legends, so that there will actually be a good definitive source for a video playlist of all the lore and like I said, there's lots of connections with I'll end on this note. The reason why I want to not just read the lore but also chat about the lore of each legend is that each legend, if you just read the lore of the legend, that's great, that's awesome. That's cool. But there's lots of connections as well that are not readily apparent if you just read, unless you kind of compare and contrast with other pieces of the lore. And I think that's where my expertise comes in. I'm familiar enough with the lore that I remember, or I know where most, if not all, of the cool connections are. And anytime I talk about the lore of a legend, like about Bodvar, I will talk not just about Bodvar's lore, but also about where Bodvar appears in other people's lore. Like, you know, that Bodvar's lore doesn't mention the Feywild, but we know that he did spend some time in the Feywild because Ember's lore talks about, you know, helping him out there and stuff like, and just little things like that. That's what the chat part is going to be all about, to help you. At the end of the day, I hope that these videos can help other people. Maybe if not, I mean, hopefully there'll be new lore fans that will come out of watching this series. But if nothing else, even if you don't become a lore nerd like me after listening to some of these videos, at the very least, I hope you can at least appreciate why I love the lore so much. If you get that from these videos, then they are successful. So, but yeah, thank you very much, and I hope you look forward to Legend Lore Chats 2024 and Beyond edition. Thank you very much, and until next time, all the best.